Thank you for joining us on Sports News Africa. I'm Angela Agor. We begin in New York, where the last major marathon of the year concluded at the weekend. And Kenyans Wilson Kipsang and Mary Kittany surged at the finish to win Sunday's race, holding off rivals over the closing strides in Central Park for narrow triumphs. Kipsang was making his debut appearance in New York, while this was Kittany's first marathon since finishing fourth at the 2012 London Olympics. Staying with the New York Marathon, Kenya's athletic bosses came in for fierce criticism on Saturday after it emerged Rita Jeptu, currently the world's leading female marathon runner, tested positive in an out-of-competition anti-doping test. The revelation has stunned Kenya, whose naturally gifted distance runners are a major source of national pride, but has also left Athletics Kenya bosses facing renewed allegations of having ignored a worsening problem. Welcome back to Sports News Africa. Algerians Olton Setif won the Confederation of African Football Champions League at the weekend, despite being held to a 1-1 draw at home by Congolese AS Vita Club in the second leg of the final. Setif lifted the Premier African Football Club trophy on the away goal rule after a 3-3 aggregate tie, having drawn the first leg 2-2 in Kinshasa last weekend. And the final whistle was followed by celebrations that spilled out onto the streets of Algeria. And now we can talk to African football journalist Mo Ali about the game. Do Olton Setif deserve to win the competition?
I think the fact that they've lost only one game in 13 in this Champions League campaign certainly makes them worthy winners. And the fact that they went away to AS Vita and scored 2 goals in the DRC, and they scored 2 goals in the semi-final in the DRC again against TP Mazembe. Certainly, they've done very, very well indeed. And if you look at the fact that the Algerian Football Federation actually didn't want them to play because of problems with the scheduling of the local league, and they also felt that Olton Setif wouldn't do themselves justice, wouldn't do Algerian football justice. They wouldn't do well enough in the tournament, and they've proved their doubters wrong by going all the way and winning the tournament and doing it in such fine style as well. It was a pressure game, the second leg, and the fact that they won or they drew 2-2 away, those away goals certainly came in very, very handy indeed. And AS Vita were very worthy opponents indeed. And I think the fact that they've prevailed over the 2 legs, and also the fact that they've lost only once away, and that was to TP Mazembe in the semi-final, certainly makes them worthy champions.
Setif now qualified for the World Cup of Morocco next month. How will they represent Africa?
I think the fact that they are playing in North Africa, in neighboring Morocco, certainly will make them dangerous, because they would be aware, familiar with the climatic conditions. It's normally pretty warm this time of the year in Morocco as compared to Europe and Brazil, where the other teams would be coming, or South America, where the other teams would be coming from. And the fact that their fans would be able to cross the border as well to support their team would certainly make them very dangerous. And obviously they would be buoyed by having won the African Champions League for only the second time in the club's history. And, with just a month to go, they certainly would be on a high. So I think that they would do reasonably well to represent Africa at the World Championships.
North African sides have dominated the competition for a long time now. What is the reason behind that?
North African sides have done exceptionally well. If you look at Al Ahly, for example, they're 8 times champions, and teams from Tunisia, Morocco as well. I think they're very well organized, they're strong financially, and they are able, besides their local players, they are able to get the better players from sub-Saharan Africa to play for them. Those players maybe are not good enough to go to Europe, but just one level below. And many of the African players actually use North African clubs as a stepping stone to go and play in Europe. And they've got some quality players both in North Africa and from that they've been able to recruit from other African countries, and the stability and the financial power that the North African clubs have. And it's also very difficult to play in North Africa for visiting teams, and the tactical organization and awareness of those teams certainly make them very strong.
Vita Club Cup wasn't able to lift the Champions League Cup, despite not losing in either of the two legs of the final. What went wrong with them?
I think the fact that they conceded 2 goals at home was a major disadvantage, because that certainly gave Entente the upper hand going into the second leg, and as it proved to be, because they did well to hold Entente to a 1-1 draw in Algeria, but then the away goals rule certainly counted against them. But having said that, they certainly acquitted themselves well, because many see them as the second best team in the Democratic Republic of Congo after the big spending TP Mazembe. But they've proven in this tournament, where they've overcome some big teams en route, and Kaizer Chiefs of South Africa being one of those, that they certainly deserve to be in the final. And unfortunately, conceding those 2 goals at home counted against them. But they came very close, because a 2-1 win or a 2-2 draw would have 2-1 win would have seen them lift the Champions League title, and a 2-2 draw would have seen the game going into extra time and possibly penalties.
Would you describe the final as a classic and one of the most memorable ones?
Well, it's difficult to say, because, that there have been some very good games along the way. If you look at last year's final, for example, between Orlando Pirates and Al Ahly, where Al Ahly did very well indeed after a poor domestic season and all the domestic troubles that they've had in Egypt, the political troubles that they've had. They did exceptionally well to win the tournament last year. Each of these Champions League finals have a character of their own, and, particularly with it being played over 2 legs, it's always difficult for the team that concedes at home then to come back, and go away from home and get the result that they require. So I would say it was a good final. There was a fantastic goal in the first leg, scored by the Congolese, and the tactical discipline of both sides certainly made for some compelling viewing, and it was really a good final. Whether it was the best, I think I'd leave that up to people who watched finals over the years to make up their mind.
Mo, thank you. It's 40 years since Muhammad Ali and George Foreman fought in an epic battle in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 40 years on, and the fighting spirit of those 2 legends rumbles on as more boxers step into the ring to make a name for themselves.
Boxers in the Democratic Republic of Congo touched gloves to mark the 40th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle, when Muhammad Ali fought George Foreman in the heat of Kinshasa. The bouts were the culmination of events to mark one of the greatest sporting events the world had ever witnessed.
It was an event that caused a sensation in the country and shook the world. I did not expect that one day I would become a boxer and fight here. I'm really happy. I showed my performance. Normally I finish my fights in the first or second round, but my coach said, show the people what you can do. So I put on a bit of a show.
Cheered on by an enthusiastic and noisy crowd, the boxers didn't pull any punches as they tried to emulate the spectacle provided by Ali and Foreman.
It was a historic and global event. Ali won in the 8th round. I knocked my opponent out in the 3rd, so I'm really happy.
The Rumble in the Jungle is now part of boxing folklore, and these boxers will hope that they can reach the top of their sport, like their heroes before them.
Welcome back. World number 1 Novak Djokovic won his 600th ATP match on Sunday as he defeated Canadian 7th seed Milos Raonic to win the Paris Masters for the 2nd straight year. Djokovic comfortably defended the crown he won last year when he defeated David Ferrer and recorded his maiden title in the French capital in 2009. His latest win also means he'll end the year as number 1 ahead of Roger Federer. To the English Premier League next, and Sergio Aguero's goal ensured Louis van Gaal's first Manchester derby ended in defeat as Manchester City beat Manchester United 1-0 at Eastlands on Sunday. United's manager Van Gaal's side had to play for more than half a match man down as defender Chris Smalling was sent off in the 39th minute after collecting 2 needless yellow cards.
Manchester United manager Louis van Gaal feels his side are getting closer to the Premier League's leading teams, despite having made their worst start to a season since 1986. After drawing 1-1 with league leaders Chelsea the previous weekend, United lost 1-0 at derby rivals Manchester City on Sunday, with Sergio Aguero scoring the winning goal after United defender Chris Smalling was sent off. Aguero struck in the 63rd minute after Smalling was shown 2 yellow cards in the first half for attempting to block a clearance by Joe Hart and then sliding in on James Milner, but United finished the match strongly. City had 3 strong penalty appeals waved away before Aguero turned in Gael Clichy's cutback to claim his 10th goal of the season. But Pellegrini refused to criticise match official Michael Oliver, saying it is very difficult to be a referee. United finished the game with midfielder Michael Carrick and 19-year-old Paddy McNair at centre-back, while an injury to Rafael da Silva meant that winger Antonio Valencia started the game at right-back. City's victory brought them 4 consecutive league successes over United for the first time since 1970 and ended a damaging run of 3 matches without a win in all competitions.
But as a player, when you have a yellow card, you have to deal with that. You know that. And you cannot do what he has done with the second yellow card. So that's not very smart. That can I say. We are very close. We are very close with Chelsea last week and also this match. We were very close. But not enough close. And we have to make steps still to improve.
I think that before that we played really well. We have clear chances to score. We have a penalty that's unbelievable that was not whistled from against Yaya Touré. That was penalty and sent off. But we can superate all those things, and finally we won the game. That's the important thing. I don't want to talk repeat about referee because I did it just once after the game at Arsenal, and it's not the way to do it. I think that it's a very difficult profession to be a referee. I repeat, the important thing is that we could win instead of those things.
And that's the end of Sports News Africa for today. Join us again tomorrow when we bring you all the latest from Africa and around the world. Bye for now.